Welcome back to the channel. On today's episode, I'm going to be working on the VET again. This time, going to be doing a project that I've been waiting kind of a long time to get started. Obviously, I had to get through the break-in process, which is long gone now. But beyond that, I just needed to have some time to have a really good friend of mine who's a TIG welder do some custom welding for me to get this part ready for install. And so today I'm going to be tearing into the engine just a little bit and going to be swapping out the stock headers for a pair of stainless steel custom made headers for this car with provisions for O2 sensor and for the exhaust gas temperature sensor, which is a new thing for the E-Ray. Not sure why, but I think they're just trying to fine tune a few things. But these headers are designed for this engine and have the provisions for all the sensors. So it should be a fairly decently straightforward install. I'm gonna pick you guys up and show you what I'm gonna be dealing with here. If you look here into the engine compartment, so we're gonna have to take off essentially these two cross members here that you see, and then kind of clearing some stuff out of the way. Basically, have to take off all of the heat shielding off the headers themselves, disconnect from the flanges on the catalytic converters, and then start working on getting the bolts from the actual block removed. So it's going to be a project. It's going to take some time, but we'll get through it. So I'll try to do a little bit step by step to show you. Again, this is by no means how-to. There's a lot of those on YouTube. I'm really just showing you just the before and after, and along the way just the basic steps of how to do this, and we'll get to that point. So I'm going to get started and then I'll show you the progress. All right guys, so you can see here I've taken off all the heat shielding from the passenger side header. This is what it looks like in the engine compartment. You can see here the bolts right here. Let me see if I can adjust that camera. These two bolts, and then there's one underneath for the cat. Got to loosen those. And then, of course, get to the bolts that are on the flange for this right here. Just get the bolts down off the block, and then the header will come out. So that'll be the next step. I've already disconnected the O2 sensor and the exhaust gas temp sensor. Move the fuel line out of the way. So now it's just and of course I took this cross member out. As you can see, that cross member is still there. This one is obviously out. So now the next thing is just to remove the header bolts and take this thing out. We'll go from there. All right, so you guys can see the header is no longer here. That's because I took it out, and here it sits. Here's the stock header with the O2 sensor and the exhaust gas temp sensor bung. Here's the new header with the new bungs for the same exact application. So basically, I'm just going to reverse the process here and install this, make sure it fits exactly correctly, and then we'll start bolting it back on, see how it looks. And that will conclude the installation of at least one side. I'll have to do the same for the other. We'll do a picture of both once it's done, so we'll go to that point. All right, guys. So now you guys can see the header has been installed. Here you can see it's bolted back up to the cat through that flange. You can see here the O2 sensor's been hooked up, and then I had this bung welded in for the exhaust gas temperature sensor, which is now plumbed in as well. I only had to clearance just one side of it with a Dremel tool just to cut out just a little portion so that it would fit on, so this would fit properly. But other than that, it's the only modification I had to do. Everything else was perfect fit. Everything just fits so nice. But I'm gonna walk you guys to the other side so you can see, you can kind of see how this looks from the top compared to the side that hasn't been done yet. So you can see how ugly that stock piece is and how much better looking this other piece is. Not only that, but it flows so much better. Now I'm going to show you guys the differences between these headers. Here in the stock header, as you can see, these pipes are a smaller diameter. And although they are a decent looking header, they kind of go 4, but then it kind of becomes 1 here. Then it narrows down a lot right here, all the way out. And on this one, obviously you can see this header has been ported, and you can see that everything is all one uniform mandrel bend. This is 1 7/8 compared to whatever this stock size is. And you get to here and it's a much larger, and it has the provisions. And then in here, you can see this is a nice 3-inch outlet with, you can see a velocity stack in there to get the maximum amount of flow. So this header right here should, at least on paper on the dyno, added an extra 25 horsepower and 25 pound-feet of torque roughly over this stock flow header. So we're gonna see how much better the car runs. Hopefully it'll breathe a lot better and it won't make as much heat under the hood as it was making. So we're gonna go to the next step and just kind of get everything buttoned up. All right guys, now we have the driver's side header installed. Everything's been torqued down. Sensors have been replaced and tucked in. I did the same thing on this particular. I had to cut out just a little wedge right here to get it to fit properly. But I got all the sensors back in there nice and tight. Everything's plugged in. These bolts for the catalytic converter flange are nice and tight. Everything's solid. So now I'm going to back up here and show you guys kind of a bird's eye view of what it looks like. There you go. Well, hopefully you guys enjoyed the install. That was definitely a pretty challenging project. I'm not gonna lie. That probably takes a solid 3 to 4 hours minimum. The biggest thing with this, there's only literally 8 bolts, 5 on each header and 3 on the flange for the catalytic converter. That's literally it, 8 bolts. It doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're having to take off, you know, all of this heat shielding crap from the stock headers, I mean, it's a lot of work to get to all those little nuts and bolts. But once the headers are off and the new ones are on, getting them back on was much faster than taking them off. Getting the bolts out, like, kind of sucked. But beyond that, everything came together well. The fit was perfect. These headers literally were CAD designed to fit perfect, and they do, like factory. This is gonna flow so much better, and it's got all the provisions for all the sensors, so you know it's gonna work. All that's left for me to do is to fire this thing up, and I'll give you guys an impression of both this and the air intake. In fact, I'll give you the air intake impression now. On my last video I uploaded, I had done cold air intake install by AFE, and that went extremely well. Obviously it took me about 4 hours. I took my time because I'm real meticulous and methodical. I don't want to make any mistakes or forget anything. But that being said, it breathes a whole lot better. Throttle response has improved, and it definitely, obviously, you feel a little bit more kick in the pants. I'm hoping that with this header install, I feel even more. The biggest thing I'm really looking for with this header install, 2 things actually: more torque in the middle, and then a little bit higher power in the upper parts of the rev range, where usually this kind of starts to die off a little bit we're talking like 120 miles an hour type of thing. So I'm hoping that I can get the 60 to 130 in this thing done here pretty soon. My goal is going to be low 6s, 60 to 130. I'm pretty sure I can achieve that. We'll see. Time will tell. But outside of that, everything's installed now. I just need to fire it up, idle it, rev it, make sure there's no leaks, and it's done. So if you liked this video, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't. I really appreciate all your support, and it would be awesome to get to 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. Don't know if it's going to happen. I've been wishing for that for a long time, but it is what it is. On the next video, I'm going to be jumping back into the Bronco and giving some updates on that. But I appreciate all your support, and until next time, this is Motors and Medicine signing off. Have a great day.